Hello everyone, drakerobi here. I just want to quickly touch on this topic of this female who was unalived by her pedo, allegedly pedo husband, who she had a restraining order against. She was an influencer, I believe, and she did this stupid TikTok trend where, oh yeah, TikTok trends are so great. Well, see how it ended up. She did this TikTok trend of my Netflix documentary of something, and she said finding out my husband was a pedophile, and the husband, who is obviously psychotic and who she already had a restraining order against, so she knew the guy was volatile, and a restraining order is a piece of paper. It's not gonna help you at the end of the day. What is a piece of paper gonna do? So she kind of brought it in a way on herself because she knew this guy was volatile. She knew this guy was unstable. He's allegedly a pedo, so obviously he's unstable, attracted to minors. So she decided to put that out there for the world to see. And now this guy has nothing, who's already unstable, probably feels like he has nothing to lose. And so he's not, preferably he should have taken himself out, but no, he took her down with her. Her down with him, I should say. Unsurprising result, honestly, because like a lot of females nowadays, the problem is that they lack accountability. They lack that they just choose wrong constantly. They're the ones, and I'm supposed to sit over here and cry tears because this female got unalived by this obviously sick monster, blue pillar monster, but I'm supposed to cry teardrops because she chose wrong. She didn't do the due diligence of knowing who the guy she married, and I don't know if they have kids or not, but if they do, who she laid down with, or just laid down with in general. I'm supposed to cry because she was didn't do her due diligence. She didn't do her homework on this person who she took a sacred vow towards, who she should have known. And in this modern age of social media and everything being out in the open, there's no excuse for not knowing who the person you taking a sacred vow to, the person said, your vows in front of your friends and families and all this other stuff in the wedding, who that person is before you say yes and I do. There's no excuse for that. In this modern age, there's no excuse to know who a person is. Especially if they're a pedophile. Like, obviously, that's going to come out a lot sooner than anything else. Like, that's gonna come to the forefront eventually, sooner rather than later, because these sick perverts, who belong on Epstein Island, and that island needs to be blown up. These guys, they can't hide it. Like they're terrible at hiding it. Obviously with social media and all this stuff. I don't know how she found out he was a pedophile. She should have known that from the beginning. Like you should do your back. You should really do your homework before you lay down with someone, marry them and lay down with them. Like there's no excuse for that in my opinion. Like I'm never gonna be like, obviously society would never grant me this opportunity. But if I was ever with someone, a female, and she, I find out she's a pedophile and she's a terrible person, she's an abuser, whatever, I would know that. I know for a fact. I would do my homework. I would do my due diligence. I'm not just gonna take someone at face value. And that's why relationships back in the day worked out, because they had no choice but to get to know a person. If a person's vibe were off, or they said something weird, or they just gave off that vibe, there was a sense. I don't know if y'all remember, there was this dating show where there was actually a serial killer on it, and the serial killer, I forgot what it was. Maybe you can remind me in the comments, but the chick, but it was a dating show, and like the guy won, and he got to go on this date with this female, and but the female noticed that the vibes were off, so she canceled the date. And good on her, because the guy was a serial killer, and he would have unalived her as well. So you see what I mean? Like, there's that in person contact. Nowadays, in the social media world, there's no in person. A person can lie about anything, a person can mislead you into believing anything. But it's still your responsibility to know who that person is before you get into a committed relationship with them. Something as sacred as marriage, call me old fashioned. But I believe marriage is a thing where, it is a sacred bond. That's just my opinion. Well, so it's your responsibility to know who that person is, if they are a good or a bad person. So I don't believe in, oh, well, she just didn't know. He hit it. No. That's just an excuse the blue pillars like to use to avoid accountability for their own actions, or one of their own actions that lead them to the unfortunate results in this story, where she got unalived, and the allegedly pedo husband took himself out as well. Good, one less pedo on the street. But at the same time, I can't. It's hard for me to see her as a victim, and she does a stupid TikTok trend of This is why I hate social media so much, because like everything has to be broadcast. I'm not saying, why not just take. If you find out someone's a pedo, why would you do a stupid TikTok trend? Why not take it to the police? Why not take it to the FBI, to the higher authorities? Like, why, that's what blame social media for her death. Obviously, blame the allegedly pedo husband too, but blame the social media. Also, she's to blame as well for being, not that smart, but still. And not knowing who she laid down with, and following TikTok trends instead of going to the proper authorities. God forbid. Call me old school again. I don't care. Yeah, but she's at fault too. I just don't see her as a victim. It's unfortunate what happened. I don't condone that. But I don't feel sorry. I'm not going to cry any teardrops, because it was her responsibility to know who she laid down with. Like I said, I don't know if they have kids or not, but if they do, then, their kids are going to have to look at their mom if their kids are self-respecting when they grow up. They lost both parents. One was obviously a piece of garbage pedo. The other one was just brainless and didn't care to do her due diligence, she decided to lay down with, spread her little influencer legs for. It's just yeah, so this whole story is just, hey, I don't find it surprising, because I come from a position of, I expect it, as a black pillar, maybe it's my nihilistic view on the world, but, as a lot of people like to say, but, I expect it. I see it coming. I know how these blue pillar relationships work. A lot of blue pillars are pedos, so it doesn't surprise me. And a lot of blue pillar modern females, they just don't care who they spread their legs for. It doesn't matter if it's the scum of the earth, regardless. That just is what it is. It doesn't surprise me. Like I said, it's just, it's unfortunate, but what can we do? Alright, I'm out.